the last time we talked, things were just starting to hit here in America. And it's been like a couple of months, and things have definitely changed a lot since then.
Absolutely. I mean, who the fuck knows? I mean, you read the news every day, and it's a different story. You know, like some people, there's like all these different scenarios that everyone's going through. It's like, you know, this is going to be rolling waves of people getting infected for like years, and I mean, things just can't go on the way they are, you know, because there won't be anything left, you know. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the right answer is. I know that eventually, you know, there's going to have to be some moves made, you know, and at least in New York, I feel like it's being dealt with in a educated way instead of just an emotional way. And you know, the numbers are coming down. The number of hospitalizations are down. Everything's like sloping down slowly, not as steeply as everyone anticipated. But you know, it's I mean, that's only because people haven't been going anywhere and everything's shut down. So, I mean, I'll feel comfortable when they start really implementing the testing procedures, and when they find people that are, you know, that you can find out whether or not you're infected or not, and if you're infected, then you quarantine and you deal with it, and then I imagine that's going to be the first step of really kind of isolating all this stuff until there's a treatment or there's a vaccine or any of these other things down the line. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Sheltering home, I guess it's helped, but it's not a permanent, sustainable solution. I don't think. You just keep everything shut down. You know, like you say, everything's going to collapse, and then we're going to be in a much worse position than we are now. But like you said, I don't really have any answers. I don't know. I will say this though, like I probably was only like at home from work for about a week and a half, and then I went back to work. And at first, it was pretty terrifying. You know, you feel like there's this invisible thing stalking you, and it was very nerve-wracking to, you know, interact with other people and have to drive to different places, and it was really scary. But day by day, got a little bit easier to. I'm at the point now where things feel kind of normal for me again.
Right.
Like I go to work for 8.5 hours, and I come home, and I have a routine down, and I'm being as safe as I possibly can, and I'm just hoping that the people around me are. And that's the best I can do. I kind of like just turned a corner after like a couple weeks back at work, being like, I can't keep worrying about this constantly, or I'm going to go insane. And I can just do the best I can. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm not being irresponsible. I wear gloves everywhere. I wear my mask everywhere. And I find this sort of pushback against wearing a mask a little strange. I know it's being kind of painted as like a rural redneck thing, but believe me, there's people like that here. There's people like that everywhere. They just don't want to do it. And I mean, I witnessed this myself. I was in a store, and a guy, this like lanky fucking hipster white dude, walked into the store, and security guard was like, "Get out of here if you don't have a mask." And he wanted to stay and argue.
That guy should get punched in the face, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, not because of the mask, but because he's a fucking tall, lanky hipster guy, and then maybe because of the mask. But that's oh yeah, right, yeah, he didn't want to wear a mask. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I know, but like this is the new reality we're living in, and you can play your part, or you can be part of the fucking problem. And then I kind of observed this guy like in the store, and I just watched him. He was like picking up bottles of wine and putting them like right up to his face, and then putting them back and taking another one. It's like, God, this guy's like just wants to touch everything with his bare fucking hands.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't get it.
I don't either, really. I mean, well, since like in the last, like I've been living out here in Jersey for a week, and this is the first full week I've been here, and in New York, I feel like everyone was pretty good about wearing masks and gloves and all that sort of stuff. The downside is that everyone is just like on top of each other, you know, and I mean, there's a lot of problems in New York, man. It's like, I mean, that's one of the entry points the virus had into the East Coast is at JFK. You know, like now they know, now they're saying there's a European strain that came across Europe and it entered the Northeast, you know, in Newark area, and then spread. And then, of course, you know, New York City is like, you know, fucking people are living on top of each other, man. It's like one of the most densest cities in the world, probably the most, maybe next to Tokyo, you know. So there's that, you know, and there's no room. And when you live there, you live in this box, you know, and you got other people around you. And, you know, it's just like, and then the subway system is, you know, very, it's disgusting, honestly. It's like, I mean, even before this happened, I remember taking the subway to work. Actually, prior to this whole thing happening, I felt like New York was slowly starting to backslide into the way it was in the 80s and maybe even the 70s, just with like, you know, homeless people, just like, you know, darkness and stuff like that, you know, like in Manhattan, like, you know, people shooting drugs like on the street. Like I remember many times in the morning, yeah, a lot of times I would get to my office like really early, like 6:30, you know, 6 a.m. sometimes. And, you know, during the winter months, it's dark, you know, so I would get out of the train, I would walk. And I remember there was one time I was walking up 35th Street and there was like this group of like homeless guys, like there was like 3 or 4 of them. And they were like doing something, maybe some kind of drug thing or whatever. But I felt like I was going to have to like defend myself. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you guys definitely have that problem out in LA. I know that for a fact, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I drive through Skid Row on a daily basis for work, and the shit I see is, I mean, it's just depressing. Yeah, but I gotta say, man, the idea of riding a subway ever again does not appeal to me. I didn't like it when I lived in. Well, since I moved out to LA, I rarely get sick. I rarely get the flu or a stomach bug or anything like that. And I was like, I wonder why. And I really think it has to do with like when I like riding the subway. Yeah. You're just on top of each other. It's not normal. And I think in this new, you know, when this pandemic subsides, I think a lot of things are going to look a lot different. And I think a lot of people are going to think twice before they get on a packed subway car, or maybe they won't allow it to be that packed anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a positive thing too. I mean, for me, the subway is not going to be part of my reality anymore. I'm not even taking the subway anymore. I'll be taking like a commuter train into the city, which is a little bit different. But you know, back to those months before the pandemic, it was like, you know, that was one instance, and then there was another instance. I was like walking, and there's a police station, and literally right across the street from the police station, this guy was like shooting heroin like on the side of this, just in basically on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
and
same here. Like the police station in Hollywood, like right around, there's like you know, there's a huge homeless population around there, sketchy people doing sketchy shit.
Yeah, but like in New York, I mean that's been like a thing in LA for a while, like Skid Row. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
After Giuliani and his jackbooted stormtroopers came through and transformed New York City, it became very, you know, Midtown was like very, very clean. Like there was no real sketchy elements there. I mean, there's always a little bit of like shadiness going on, but not like this, man, where like people are doing drugs. I saw some girl giving like a guy a hand job in like a, you know, like this cardboard like lean-to, like literally right at the corner of the building where my office is. There's like, they had this scaffolding, and then there was the homeless people had built this cardboard like shanty town. And I remember this girl showed up like over the summer. I saw her passed out in the subway, like just laying on like a piece of cardboard, but she wasn't dirty yet. She was just like I was kind of perplexed because I was like, saw this young girl and I was like, she had normal clothes on. She was just asleep on the sidewalk, on the inside the subway station. And I was like, huh, that's weird. As the months went by, I was witnessing her descent, you know, and then like it was the same girl. Like literally 5 months later, she was jerking this dude off, like in a box, basically, like right on the corner of where my office is. And I was like, damn. So there was that, and then just and I was talking about this with Mike Scandato on a couple episodes ago, because he's also you know, a New York guy.
Right.
Lived in New York City all his life and has traveled the subways his whole life. And we were talking about just the increase in just uneasiness on the subway of like, threatening people. And also I would observe people like vomiting on this platform. And there was a point where once I decided to move out to Jersey, I was thinking about, man, like, I can't believe I lived like this for all these years. Like, I can't believe that I put myself in this like soup of bacteria that like every day. And then now we have this like fucking pandemic that we're dealing with. And with the drop of subway users because of everything being shut down in the city, the homeless have basically taken over the subway as their, semi-permanent residences. And there's this big thing going on every night where I don't know if it's nightly, but a couple of nights a week they shut the system down at night, and they clear it out.
That.
You know, and they sterilize or whatever they do. I don't know if they can sterilize it, but they clean the subway cars. But it's fucked up, man. You know, it's weird. It's unsettling. It's I don't know. It's just like hopefully a once in a lifetime thing that people go through, you know?
I hope so too. But again, with like so many people losing their jobs and unemployment skyrocketing, and I think you're going to see maybe an increase of homelessness. And like, I see that, like what you were describing, I see it too. You see someone like come out of a tent on 7th Street and they look like they're going to work. They have normal clothes on. They look clean. And then, you see that same person a month later, like they look a little bit more wary and their clothes a little bit more tattered. And I worry there's going to be a lot more of that. I was, reading that like suicides are up, divorce, like a lot of negative things like this is like are happening because
for sure,
of the pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, and in New York, the summer's going to be crazy here. Honestly, I think that, for a lot of what you were saying, that there's going to be a lot of people without work, unemployed, more homeless people. People are going to be angry. They're going to be. I don't believe the city is going to be completely returned or reopened this summer. I still think a lot of it's going to be on pause. And then, of course, if the infection rate goes up because of the reopening, there's going to be another shutdown, and then there's going to be people like locked in their apartments during the summer. And I'm really glad I'm not living there right now. I'm glad that I'm out of the city because I don't feel like getting stabbed or like jumped by somebody.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. The summer heat comes craziness, and
oh yeah, man.
Yeah, that worries me too. And like with people with nothing to do, you start to lose it a little bit. Like I honestly think like the summer movie season is probably completely canceled. I can't foresee anyone wanting to sit in a crowded theater anymore, or at least right now. No one's on tour.
Oh yeah. Forget about that.
Yeah, and I mean I just don't see any of that happening for, until 2021. And it's depressing to think about, but, I just try not to think about it. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, we got approached about doing a tour in the fall. And it's funny. 'Cause
really?
Our manager sent me an email with not an offer, but to see if we would be available to do it. And I was like, it's all out on the West Coast. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure. If we're able to do it, I mean, like, I think I would be up for doing it if it was like agreed upon that it was a safe thing to do. I mean,
Right.
flights would probably be dirt cheap to go out there, and
They are, yeah, probably. But I've been hearing about people being on packed flights now and how uncomfortable and scary it is.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
I mean, we always have the option to doing a couple of dates on the way out too, but honestly,
Right,
I don't
yeah.
think I don't think that's going to happen. I really do think this tour that we were talking about is probably not going to happen. I mean, but if things are open in the fall, I definitely want to have something to do. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Sure.
just be sitting on my ass. Like, if I can be on tour, support, because we have like a new record coming out in the fall too. So it's like,
Right. And there was never any talk of postponing it or anything?
No, I mean, we're finishing up the recording at the end of this month. I mean, we were supposed to be on tour right now at Napalm Death. And,
Right.
We finished the drums before the tour was supposed to start. And then we're going back in a couple of weeks because this coming week would have been the last week of the tour. And,
oh, wow.
It sucks, but what are you going to do? I mean, this is the world we live in,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of bands that like had tours in like March and April postpone them until August, or like there was optimism that this was just going to blow over and be done with. Like I feel like a lot of people approach it like they were like getting ready for a blizzard. Oh, we'll just stay home for a little while and everything will be fine. And then it seems to slowly be dawning on everyone that it's not, and this is going to be a problem for a while. So, like I seen Greg Dooley was his tour was canceled, and then I saw an announcement and it was like postponed till September. Because I guess at that point September sounded like a safe date, and it's I don't see that happening. I don't see me going to that show out here in LA.
I don't think so, man. Honestly, I don't see any of that stuff happening. Really, I would be pleasantly surprised if things like that happen rather, and I would participate. Because I imagine by that time, because I mean I know the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, they're really aggressively going into this testing protocol and testing and tracing. And that really might be, until there's a vaccine, that really might be what brings things back to a relatively normal situation. Because, I mean, if you find, there's only so many people that live in this region, and if you test everyone, and then out of the people that you test, you isolate the ones who are infected. And then you just are in this regimen of getting yourself tested. Eventually, I think things will be under control. It'll be like the AIDS epidemic. You know what I mean? It's like,
right? Yeah.
No, I mean, I say that jokingly, but not really jokingly. It's going to be like, it's going to be kind of exactly like that. You get, if you're out there raw dogging, you gotta, you run the risk of getting AIDS or HIV or whatever. And if you're responsible, you don't get HIV, and then you might have to get tested. It's the kind of scenario where like every couple months or weeks or how, depending on what your lifestyle, it's like you go out there and you get tested, and that's how this thing gets put under control,
Right. So, do you know anyone with it?
Now this is another thing I want to talk about too. Is like I know one person that's had it. Personally, know one person that's had it. The guy one of the owners of the Muay Thai gym. I had him on the show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet.
Yeah, Mike de Guzman. He wasn't actually diagnosed, but he had all the symptoms because back then when he got sick, New York was still in this thing of like, stay home, like don't come into the hospitals. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But he developed all the symptoms. So 99.9% he had COVID-19. So, and he went into how, the whole thing of what happened and, or he still doesn't really know how he might have gotten it and, but what it was like dealing with it. And the one thing he did say is that he has a history of respiratory problems. So
Mm.
That's why, he added that on to say that, yeah, I think that's why I got hit hard, because his wife was also infected, but she didn't have the same type of, it didn't hit her the same way as it did him, you know? And
Right.
this is a guy that's like above average fitness, like,
Right.
healthy, like very much in that, demographic of somebody you would think is fit and like doesn't have any problems. But, he did say he had some history of respiratory problems. So that's why it hit him. But, it's a real thing,
Wow.
man, like around that time he was talking about racism against like Asian people in New York. And, it's just, there's that too, it's fucking crazy.
Right. Oh, sure. Yeah. I have a family member that had it, and he was in Florida on vacation when spring breakers went down there, and he came back with, he felt like he had a cold, and then he just proceeded to get really, really sick, and didn't seem to be getting better. He's better now, but it sounded like he was pretty sick for a long time.
Really?
And it didn't sound like, yeah. And, he's 62, I think. So it was definitely worrisome, was definitely worried for him, but he seems to be doing okay now. But he was down for a while. And it hit even closer to home. I found out, I think it was Thursday, my coworker found out he had it back at the end of February.
Wow.
And right around that time, 2 other people in our office got really, really sick. So I was definitely around it, so I could have had it too and be asymptomatic. I don't know. But I'm going to get tested as soon as I can.
Yeah, I mean, that's the page I'm on too, because I have no idea. I mean, I think just I would not be surprised if I had been infected at some point in the last few months, just because of I believe that the virus has been here since like late December or even earlier maybe, and just being on the fucking subway with people and being in New York City, I find it hard to believe that I at least wasn't exposed to someone who had it, and I know that the building
Sure.
that our office is in, there's like someone on one of the floors had contracted it, and they shut down that floor and did a deep cleaning or whatever. But that's like, people, especially people that work for the building, they go from floor to floor all the time. So I don't know, who
Right.
knows? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, like, if I worked with one person who definitely had it and 2 people that could have, like, I was kind of a germaphobe before all this,
yeah.
So I was never big on touching door handles with my bare hands or things like that. But probably touch the same box as someone, an envelope, or push the button on the water cooler, like, and yeah. So it's a good chance that I could have had it and not known.
And the other thing to keep in mind too is, like, I think that there's, all right, I don't want to sound like some kind of conspiracy theorist, but I also don't want to just blindly fall into the press terror cycle that seems to be happening too, I mean, I have to look at the numbers more, but even with all the horrible news about people dying and the rates of infection, I'd like to still understand what the real risk is. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
how many people die? What the likelihood of actually getting this thing and being able to deal with it is. I mean, there's so many unknowns about this thing, and also the way that news is being reported is very sensational too. And
Yeah.
The papers, the newspaper world is non-existent these days. So, New York Times, Daily News, all these, different publications are just trying to get people to look at their sites. So, I subscribe to the
Sure.
Times and the Daily News online, and I get, the headlines into my email every morning. And up until the pandemic, it was mainly just looking at political stuff, and then now it's like a complete submergence into the doom and gloom, like forecasts, and this wallowing in terror, and this like borderline irresponsible reporting of some of these things too, and
yeah, and absolutely, and it's been politicized too.
Oh man, yeah.
And that is the worst thing that could have happened, I think. And it's really disheartening and depressing to see this. Basically somehow this is the Democrats' fault or it's the Republicans' fault, or like it's gotten very ugly. And if you're on Twitter or social media, anything like that, like you see things people are saying, it's just really depressing. You hear all this bullshit like we'll get through this together, and I don't agree with that at all. I think we'll get through this, but we're not going to be this isn't like 9/11 where like for like a month people seem to be good to each other, but that predated Facebook.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I think that honestly, as far as like as a culture, the United States is at a total low point in its entire history right now, with all this like, partisan disagreements and fighting and people reacting to each other. And the fact that we have like two completely, ridiculously incompetent people running for president this year. And, the fact that Donald Trump somehow became president, just in and of itself, is like a fucking total low point in our country's history.
And I get it. I understand. Like I see him do his press conferences, and I'm outraged. I want to throw a fucking brick through my TV. I get it. Like I'm angry too. But at the beginning of this, it was like, as much as I don't like Donald Trump, I really hope he does a good job getting us through this. I really do. And it was clear from the beginning that was just not gonna happen.
No, he's
and
yeah, it's like he just isn't capable of it,
Right. And any other election, I think, would be a slam dunk for the other guy, because he just basically got on TV and made a complete fool out of himself day after day. But instead, we got Joe Biden, and I think, I don't know how we got here. Joe Biden, really.
I mean, it's almost like a movie script, man. It really is, because it's like all of the liberal people in the Me Too movement, which the Me Too movement honestly was a hoax anyway. It was like, let's get out ahead of the story, and like I mean that we can go a whole podcast about the Me Too movement. I mean, I'm not supporting rape. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that women should go out and get raped and abused by men and all this other stuff. But I mean,
right. It's
kind of disgusting to use that platform as a way of covering your tracks politically, which is basically what the Me Too movement was, And I'll leave it to anyone out there who wants to research that. I'm not going to go into it right now because I don't want to talk about it necessarily. And it's all out there in reputable news sources about what the Me Too movement actually was. But the same people that that crucified Brett Kavanaugh, rightly so that he got crucified for that.
Fuck that guy.
Are the ones who are supporting Joe Biden, who debatably is an equally dangerous, inappropriately offensive woman toucher. You know what I mean? Like, he's a guy that has had sexual misconduct allegations against him too, and it's public knowledge. So, yeah. I mean, how do you support a guy like that, get behind him as your presidential candidate, and condemn Brett Kavanaugh? I mean, both of them are horrible in my opinion, but like, how is one guy pass and the other guy fails? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, it's kind of thrown a wrench into that philosophy of some of the people in the Me Too movement. For me personally, I don't know. Like, if you don't vote for Biden, you're voting for Trump.
Well,
at the same time, it's like I don't like Joe Biden. I don't want to vote for him.
You and I both live in Democratic states, so I'm actually not going to vote this year, man. I'm like, I have no fucking candidate to vote for. If I was backing Bernie Sanders myself, but actually he's back on the ballot in New York, and
is he?
Yes. If I don't really even know what the fuck that's all about, honestly, but like, I don't even get any of that shit. I got to be honest. You know what my opinion is? Somewhere in a back room bunker somewhere, the Republicans and the Democrats got together and they made a deal. And they're like, all right, we'll give you, you guys can have Obama for 2 years and then or for two terms. And then we're going to get this guy, what's his name? The TV reality show guy that rips everyone off, his family, all of his businesses have failed. That guy, Donald Trump. Yeah, that's his name. He'll be our guy, and we'll get him for 2 years. So don't try too hard to put someone against him that people can believe in. So that's why we had Hillary and Joe Biden. And then when Trump is done with his second term, they'll be like, all right, you guys can have your guy for 2 terms because, you need to have 2 terms. I just think I find it hard to believe that there's any sense of logic or fairness, or this whole thing to me just seems like a work, in my opinion. And the fact that
seems too strange to be real. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, literally the only thing Joe Biden has going for him is that he was Obama's vice president. You know what I mean? And they're just like hanging their hat on that being what's going to be able to defeat Donald Trump. A guy who should, like a real opponent should be able to make short work of that guy. Even with Hillary. I mean, Hillary has so much controversy around her. It's like if they just put anyone against anyone with like without some shadowy background against Donald Trump, I feel like they would win, especially at this stage.
Yeah, and sadly, I think the exact opposite is going to happen. I think Trump seems to have come out of everything unscathed, and he's going to come out of this relatively unscathed. And yeah, I think he's going to win, sadly. And we got 4 more years of this insanity.
Yeah, I mean, I have that same premonition, but also, it's like, I mean, I don't even think Biden's going to make it to the election, to be honest. I think that's something's going to, I mean, the Trump administration, once they engage in like really digging up all the dirt about that guy, something's going to come up. I feel like they have an ace in the hole that they're waiting to unveil when things start really, kicking into full swing with the campaign. And I feel like Biden is just going to have to drop out of the race. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really even see. There's no like. He doesn't really have a presence. Like, you kind of forget this is an election year. Like, November is around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's been overshadowed by the pandemic. Really.
Right, but I hadn't seen any Biden signs anywhere. I live in liberal Los Angeles. You don't see any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there was a conspiracy theory a month ago that Joe Biden was actually dead. That made me laugh. Like, and when he does surface, he just his incoherent rambling isn't doing him any good.
No way. And I just can't get behind it. I'm sitting this one out, man. I know it's like horrible, like people can go out and you can criticize me for not voting this year, but it's like, fuck it. I don't want to fucking support any of this shit. New York is
right. And
actually, I don't live in New York anymore. I live in New Jersey. But New Jersey is a Democratic state too. But it's like,
oh, is it?
I think so. Yeah, Phil, the governor's a Democrat.
Okay.
So they're going to vote blue anyway, which is another fucked up thing because like, the you can't even, they have all these like, ratings of performance and all that and popularity, but it's like the popularity vote doesn't even fucking matter. The popular vote, like his approval rating has absolutely nothing to do with who wins the presidency. It's like the electoral college, and that's how he won the last election. Really, he lost the popular vote, but because his campaign was geared towards like the meth addicted red states, who are all out of work and filled with white nationalists, he appealed to them. And they thought that by voting for Donald Trump, it was going to empower this like white uprising in the country. That's how he won. And not by how many people voted for Hillary and how many voted for Donald Trump. It was just literally through percentages, and electoral votes.
Yeah, it's a strange system we have.
Furthermore. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. I don't know if anyone even fucking remembers that. He used to be a Democrat, and he's like, what's my easiest pathway to become president of the United States? I know. I'll talk about coal. Coal, which people that live in coal mining regions of the country don't even want to go back to coal mining because of the fucking death toll, that people have died from mining coal. Let's see. We got a lot of disenfranchised white people that live in these places like Indiana, Ohio, whatever. Let me have like some thinly veiled messages out there to these like fringe, far right, types, and appeal to them. And by the way, these are the countries that have the most electoral votes, and this is how I'll become president. Fuck it.
Yeah. You must have some thoughts on those protests that were happening with people marching the streets, on machine guns.
Why are they fucking armed? Why? Most of these motherfuckers with guns would probably shoot themselves in the face if they had to actually use these guns. And like, part of me is like, why did he show up at a protest fucking armed? They should have been arrested, in my opinion, man. It's like, I don't know, fuck that. It's like, you can go do your protesting, whatever. That's great. We have a right to assembly, like all that sort of stuff. But I mean, showing up someplace armed is a fucking statement. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, what kind of statement are you trying to say here? And I mean, I like guns. I like guns. I think guns are interesting pieces of equipment. I think that because I am very much into knowing how to defend yourself, I think that it's important to understand weapons, guns, knives, other types of weapons, how to use your
brass knuckles.
Brass knuckles, fuck everything, man. I like weapons. I like fighting, and I like self-defense. And I think it's important to know how to do those things just because it calms your fucking mind and it gives you a perspective on stuff. If you go out and buy a gun, you have the responsibility to understand what you have and how to use it effectively and train with it and make it part of your everyday routine so that you don't kill yourself or someone else. That's kind of like how I feel about guns. Like, I don't think that you just ban guns, whatever. Like, I'm not one of those people. I think that it's important that we have weapons and we're able to use them. It's a constitutional right. I mean, take that however you guys will. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but that's my feeling and whatever. So furthermore, if you're going to show up at a protest armed, you're a fucking asshole, in my opinion. You should just go there, protest, wave your sign. I think that at this stage of the game, I understand why people are protesting. I understand that, like, people want to be able to support their families. They want, they don't want to, like, and people are out of work for no doing of their own. It's just this thing happened.
It's frustrating.
It's not like, it's totally frustrating, and I understand it. But fucking stay home, man. Wear a mask. Like, don't. There's so little known about things that people really should just pay attention, and not act out. And so I understand the frustration. I understand the anxiety, but like, just try to keep it together, man. And then some people try to get confused about these things. They want to turn it into, these civil liberties, and the government's taking things away from us and whatever. And I'm just like, let's just like give it a little bit more time and see what the fuck's going on,
Right. And, you can't say you're pro-life and all this all lives matter bullshit when you're saying sacrifice the weak, and you have that moron Glenn Beck saying that old people should die for their country. This is a guy that was screaming about Obama death camps for 8 years, and now he's talking about how people should die for their country. It was a disturbing narrative that was being pushed on the right. That really, really bothered me.
Yeah.
And seeing these fucking clowns in the street waving Trump flags and signs and holding guns, and what is going on, man? Where the fuck are we?
Yeah, I don't like the irresponsible gun thing at all, and I just think that if you got to show up at a protest with a fucking gun, you got some fucking problems, really.
Right?
You need to look inward.
Yeah, it was really disheartening to see that. And I mean, we had a protest in Orange County, an hour from here. I don't think people weren't waving guns or anything, but they were definitely not wearing masks, doing dumb shit like that. It's depressing, man.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This shit's creepy for sure, man. Like I watched the UFC last night, and it was they had a UFC event, and there was no crowd, and all the cornermen were wearing masks, and everyone was tested, and it was fucking weird, man. I don't want to live in a world like this. It's like I don't want to live in a world like that. I don't, but it's like, but until further notice, this is where we're at, And,
and I mean, I love football. That's my sport.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird to watch games where there probably won't be a crowd there, but it's better than nothing. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel bad for like people, a lot of my friends are big baseball fans, and just no season.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's got to be rough. It's rough for everybody. Everyone has their thing that's been disturbed by this. I love movies. Obviously, you do too. Summer season's coming up. A lot of stuff I was looking forward to. It's just gone. It's moved to next year, and everything that was filming has shut down, pushing that even further back. It's depressing. I was really looking forward to seeing Christopher Nolan's new movie on an IMAX screen this summer, and it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, man. It's, I mean, for me, it's like the tours, like going to shows sucks. You can't do that. And then every day I would do some sort of martial arts training, and I can't even, that's shut. Who knows when that's going to come back? Going to
that would be
train Muay Thai or something.
Pretty high. Yeah. It's pretty high risk, I would imagine. I mean, you're all up on each other.
Yeah. And like, at this stage of the game, I would just be happy to be able to go someplace besides my apartment or to like the grocery store. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like besides, I mean, I feel fortunate to be living out here where it's nice and quiet and peaceful, and there's no, like I don't feel like crowded or anything like that here, but it'd be nice to go to a diner or go out and get something to eat or go to a movie or just go someplace besides here in my apartment or to stock up on groceries. That's it. It's like that's literally the only places I can go right now.
Right. I go to work and I come home and I was saying things feel normal for me, but then I realized, I can't just stop at the grocery store on the way home. It's going to take 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or, we can't go out to eat, can't go to a movie. One of the more surreal moments was seeing like the shuttered movie theater around the corner from my house, and on the marquee it says The Invisible Man.
Wow.
And I was like, I just watched that in my apartment like an hour ago. Like it just sort of added the surreal, like, everything's, no more going to the movies. So the studios did the smart thing and released it on iTunes.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Video on demand or on demand. Yeah, it's funny. I took a I had to like, I don't know 100% where I'm going right now, like as far as like, directions to different places right now. I mean, I have a pretty good understanding of this area, but
Yeah,
sometimes I make like a wrong turn, you know what I mean? And in New Jersey,
sure.
you're fucked if you make a wrong turn because it's like they got all these like jug handles and all this shit and no left hand turn, stuff like that. So I ended up making a wrong turn and ended up driving through the Menlo Park Mall parking lot, and it was fucking closed, man. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I mean, I grew up like you. We're not really urban people, you and I. We grew up like in the suburbs or like more, areas that weren't the city. So for me, I like
Right.
malls. I've always been a fan
Yeah.
of going to a mall. I like going there, whatever. And I was like,
Yeah.
man,
Guilty.
yeah, you go there, you go to the food court, you fucking buy some Doc Martens or some shit. You go to the Apple store, you know,
Yeah.
Vans, whatever. Get some pants or some shit, and then like I used to love going there to the Menlo Park Mall, and it was completely fucking empty, and everything was closed. There was like a Buffalo Wild Wings in there, and I was just like, oh, actually, there's not. It's not a Buffalo Wild Wings. It's like a similar type of establishment where you can go and watch fights and sporting events and shit. Closed,
Right.
everything closed, and I was like, fuck, man,
Right.
so fucking
It's a
weird.
weird feeling, and even weirder it's going to be like we might live in a world where like Applebee's and Buffalo Wild Wings is going to be the only places you can eat because all the mom and pop shops are fucking gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope not. I mean, the good thing is a lot of places are open for delivery. Like they're still
Yeah.
they're still open. They're still making money. But like one of my favorite diners is the Menlo Park Diner right by the mall. And that place has been closed for months, man. And that's like just like one of those totally like sick like tri-state area style diners, like old school. Like with the
Yeah.
it's just like like some Greek guy owns it. You know what I'm saying? Like just like one of these like big. You go in there 24 hours. You can get like a grilled cheese sandwich at like 2:00 in the morning. Like coffee, those like black and white cookies, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's one of the things I miss about living in New York and Connecticut.
Yeah.
Shit like that. It's not really a thing out here.
Who knows
Um,
if that place is gonna reopen, man?
Right. Well, you think, okay, there's a diner out here, Swingers, that's been around forever. We used to go there before we even lived in LA, like on tour. We usually stay with Turner's brother, and we always end up Swingers. And they're done. It's closed, gone.
Wow.
Now there's talk that the Troubadour is in trouble.
Oh man.
That might not reopen, and that's really devastating, man. I mean, I've played and seen great shows there, and the thought that like that's such a legendary venue just gone.
Yeah.
You think it can't happen, then you think, well, God, a lot of legendary venues close. The Rat in Boston, CBGB's.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can happen, and it's going to be weird. It's going to be, it's sad, but fuck, what can you do?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is like some restaurants obviously aren't going to make it, but like when things eventually get to a point where people can go out to eat again, someone's going to buy that space and open up another restaurant. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to open a Burger King there, though.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't want that though. I mean, I don't know about most people, but there's a lot of people that don't want to eat at Burger King. They want to eat at a fucking
Right.
legit like spot. And hey, by the way, did
Yeah.
you see that? You're talking about the Troubadour. There was a documentary about the Sunset Grill. I'm sorry, not the Sun. What am I? The Rainbow Grill next to
Oh.
the Roxy.
Oh, I've only been there once, and that was because people from out of town wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Where'd you see that? Is that a Netflix thing?
No, it's on Prime.
Oh, cool. I have Prime.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. I just watched the Beastie Boys documentary. Did you see that?
I did. What do you think of that?
I loved it. It was an interesting way to present a documentary. It was fun. It was funny and, a little sad. I was actually a lot sad at the end. But I really appreciated that they didn't do a standard documentary that you just had the two remaining members of the group up there talking, telling the story with photos and in the background. And I was there for all that stuff, for the beginning of Def Jam and the Beastie Boys and their rise to this huge sensation that they were. And then I remember when Hey Ladies came out and it kind of landed with a thud. No one really got what they were doing. Everyone thought they were done, down to the count. And Check Your Head comes out. And I think I was a sophomore in high school at that point, well into punk rock. But everyone was playing that tape. Everyone had it. Any party you went to, any group of people, they were all really into it. It was one of the biggest comebacks I'd ever seen. So it was cool to see that all again, kind of relive it. And I miss the Beastie Boys, and I wish they were still a thing.
Yeah,
what did you think?
I thought it was. I wasn't that into it. I mean, I liked the content, but I wasn't really on board with the way that it was presented. Really, with the on stage, thing and the teleprompter and like all that kind of stuff. And the one thing that was really funny about it was that was the same theater that I saw Sigur Rós playing a couple of years ago. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I was assigned to write a piece about the show for one of the websites that I used to write for back then, and so I got in for free and whatever. And it's funny because what's that?
So I was going to say such a boring live band, but go on.
I thought the live show was kind of cool. They had a bunch of stuff on stage, like a different visuals and stuff, But
yeah,
what I thought, the first thing I noticed was like how many, like it was just a sea of fucking white people, man, at that Sigur Rós show. And I was, because it was around the time when people were starting to talk about like metal and like black metal being not being diverse, and it's like
right.
Part of me was like, man, I mean, who the fuck wrote this? It's like when you go to like see like Marduk or Mayhem or Watain or anything like that, there's like, at least around here, there's like a really broad spectrum of different types of people that go to those shows. But if you go to fucking see Sigur Rós, it's like all white people with like maybe a couple of Asians in there, and that's it. I didn't see any people of color at the show at all, except for the people working at the venue. I never used to give a fuck about anything like this until that moment in time when people started criticizing how like everyone that likes black metal is like a Nazi or something like that,
I was unaware of that. I had a similar experience when I saw the National at the Hollywood Bowl. Like, I felt like I was in a library or Starbucks or something.
Yeah.
It was fucking terrible. Such a boring show. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that Beastie Boys thing had the same sort of vibe in the crowd. I don't know. They would show the crowd, and it would be like all white people and all like very specific types of white people. Like these like whites that have like beards and the fucking beard is like I don't know, man. It's like I the beard. It's like I'm fucking done with beards, dude. It's like why? Like is it I don't get the beard, I mean, I know people have had beards their whole lives, but it's like this thing now where it's been a thing for a while, but it's like white people with beards and glasses, and that's pretty much the crowd that when they pan the crowd, and people like Ben Stiller and stuff like that were the Beastie Boys thing.
Right. Yeah. I didn't quite catch that about the crowd, but that makes sense. I one thing that kind of surprised me was Public Enemy wasn't mentioned once in that documentary. I don't think. I
was going to bring that up too, man. They talked about Run DMC, but they didn't talk about PE, and I'm just like, how the fuck do you not talk? They were like, they had that big tour they did together.
Right, and like, I think Public Enemy is probably the best rap group of all time.
Yeah,
they kind of started together.
Yeah,
and it just seemed weird to not include them in some way. And I mean, it did legit. Like, you kind of forget the Beastie Boys were like a real rap group. Like, people in the rap scene dug them. They, you know, they weren't like some pop sensation. So I thought that was strange.
Well, the thing you bring up about PE too is like the same way that like the Beastie Boys were like white guys who played rap music and sort of you know, were like an outreach in a way between different cultures, like the punk culture, hardcore punk, and like rap. The Public Enemy were like black dudes very much ingrained in like hip hop culture, but they reached over into like punk and hardcore and metal. You know what I mean? And both of those groups together kind of like, I think broadened the appreciation of both styles of music amongst different cultures that might not have necessarily been aware of each other. You know, I think that like more so Public Enemy was what got me more into like listening to hip hop back then, because I was like, oh wow, this is like, you know, this is like, it's not just like party music. It's like like back in the 80s, Metallica's songs were about like politics and war and shit like that. And, you know, like PE to me was like, you know, I hate using Metallica as an example, but, you know, PE was like kind of like the harder edged, like they had more like bigger themes, you know, they had like kind of like a higher level of objectives in what they were trying to do. They had like this political bent. It was very much like this kind of punk rock kind of vibe with some of their stuff, you know, their commentary on society. And that's what got me interested more in hip hop was PE. You know, and the Beastie Boys were like, I never really took them that seriously until actually, I thought Paul's Boutique was an awesome record. That's when I really started checking them out.
It is, but at the time, like that, I mean, I think their License to Ill sold millions of copies for sure. And I think when Paul's Boutique came out initially, like it went gold, which was considered a huge flop. And I think people were expecting like a party record, and it was just this dense, heavy samples, and like no one knew what to make of it. It wasn't like a lot of, you know, there wasn't like a party record. It was this grand artistic statement that people didn't get. I mean, they get it now. You can't talk about the Beastie Boys where people don't say, you know, Paul's Boutique's their best album, it's a masterpiece, but no one was saying that at the time. Everyone had kind of written them off.
Yeah, I'm definitely aware of that, you know, but it was like, I mean, I had License to Ill. Just because it was like,
did, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when I got it when it came out, because it was like this kind of derelict record, you know. It's like, it's like I remember that when the year it came out, I would listen to, you know, like Gangrene, you know, Alcohol, and Beastie Boys, you know, License to Ill. They were like, it would be played at the house I was living at. You know what I mean? Like, it would be the kind of vibe that, you know, people would sit around and in the living room, and like that's the kind of music that would be on like that year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, I dug it though, you know.
Yeah. And then they did Check Your Head. Like when that came out, like I said, man, that reached over every boundary there was. Like I was a total punk kid, but I was like, man, this is cool, and you can go to see a Beastie Boys show and people are fucking slam dancing and stage diving and shit.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I gotta say, man, MCA might be the first like famous like musician that passed away that really hit hard. It was really sad to wake up and see that news.
Yeah, and he was a young guy too, man. You know.
Yeah, he was 46 or so around the time of his death.
Yeah, at the time he died, he was in his 40s, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was a rough one, but I appreciated that documentary. I, like everyone else, I watched the Tiger King documentary, and I found the Beastie Boys one infinitely better.
Yeah.
Did you see that? You saw that, right? I think
Tiger
you talked
King?
about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had no choice but to watch that. It was on before I moved, and
mandatory viewing apparently.
Yeah, if I was living by myself at that time, I probably would not have watched it, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that takes precedent over watching that, and
yeah,
I don't know, man. That shit. It's like I'm an animal lover, and I know you are too, you know. And it's like, but I just don't want to see
cats.
like fuck. I love cats, so
yeah.
I just don't want to see that, you know. And on top of it, who fucking cares about this guy? You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck about this like fucking redneck meth guy. You know, I just don't care. There's that one guy with all. I saw like there's that one dude with all the affliction stuff. That was kind of funny. You know that guy.
Yeah.
Everyone just seemed like so shady, except for like some of the guys that worked there. Like there was that one
guy with a clutch shirt.
Yeah, that guy. That guy looked cool, man. It looked like some dude that I would have been in the crew of like a band that we toured with or something like that. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, oh, this guy might be like the, fucking guitar tech or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a sound guy or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had more of a sound guy vibe for sure.
Yeah. You know, and there was like another episode that came out too, I think, right?
Yeah, there was. I didn't watch it, but yeah, for one thing, like you could have told that story in like a 2.5 hour documentary. I think it went on too long, and I think everyone involved with it was creepy. Like it had this weird culty vibe. There's this weird cult vibe going on, and like in that community, it's very weird. Like they were all like polygamists or like swingers, like grooming people to be in this like cult. It was so fucking weird. I was like, I don't know why anyone's enamored with this guy. He's kind of a piece of shit. Yeah, and totally. In the end, like, I mean, there's people who think that guy was railroaded or whatever. He belongs where he is. I have no sympathy for him. But there's like this trend of like these like docu-series. Like I saw another one, McMillions on HBO, and it's an interesting subject, but you don't need a 5-hour, 6-hour documentary. I think that story could have been told again in like 2 hours.
Probably right. I didn't see that one though. What other stuff? I'm sorry, go ahead. What
Oh no, go ahead. What were you gonna ask?
I was gonna ask you like what other stuff you've been watching during this whole thing here. We're still enduring.
Well, I've been, watching a lot. Usually like a movie a day, sometimes two. First thing I'll mention is I rewatched a bunch of the Friday the 13th movies because it has been, at least a decade and longer since I've seen those movies. And I got to say, it's an unpopular thing, but I don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're junk. They're complete trash. I get the nostalgia. When I was a kid, Jason was scary. Those movies were very rural looking. It looked like where I grew up. Actually, part 2 was filmed in Connecticut.
Oh yeah, what part?
That I don't remember, but it was not around anywhere I live. But and I went to summer camps and things like that. So yeah, Jason was scary, but seeing it as an adult, it really realized movies just exist as a vehicle to show kills. Like there's no characters, there's no plot, there's not really any story. It's like these little vignettes where you hang out with people for 5 minutes and then they're killed. And then in the end, the final girl gets Jason. Rinse and repeat, same thing through and through. And it was like, man, I was talking to several different people like, oh, 8's the worst, this is the worst. But like a lot of them really were like indistinguishable to me.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember what kill happened in what movie.
Did you like
like
the
a little
first one,
trilogy.
though? Did you like the first one?
I think the first one, is definitely the best, and seems like it was like a real movie. Where the rest just seemed like cynical. Like, oh, we'll make this on the cheap, throw it out there, and people will go see it. It's sort of like the attitude of like the remakes of the early 2000s. The same sort of idea. Like, oh, this is name recognition. We'll make this for cheap. We'll get some shitty video director to make it, and people will go see it. And that's kind of what those movies seem like. There's no artistry to them at all.
Yeah, I was never a big Friday the 13th fan. I didn't even really. I mean, I watched the first one when I was a young kid, but that's not my go-to '80s slasher guy. Is Jason Voorhees? I prefer Michael Myers, like the Halloween. The first few
Right.
Halloweens I thought were really good, actually, and then I fell off.
Well, the first one's a great movie.
Yeah.
The second one's okay. I don't hate it. I don't love it. The third one,
Season of the Witch.
Yeah. I mean, again, nostalgic reasons. I think I love that movie. Everything after that's garbage.
I really enjoyed Season of the Witch. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. But 4, 5, the one with Busta Rhymes, those are all fucking terrible. And people seem pretty split on the David Gordon Green Halloween from a few years back. I really, really enjoyed it. It had some pretty big flaws, but overall, I loved it.
I have mixed feelings about that one, but I think I'm like neutral on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love
I'm a
the
big
first
David Gordon
one,
Green fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one's a classic for me, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I was more of a Freddy kid. Like, I loved Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Those movies, I think, are the next series I'll go back and revisit, even though I think pretty much after 3, they're really atrocious.
Which is the one that's like it's like super homoerotic. Like which one is that? The
2.
Second or third? Yeah, that one's
That's
a really
the
good
second one.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. It's creepy.
It's
and,
definitely creepy.
It has things that the Friday the 13th series doesn't have, like characters, plot, reasons for things are happening. But yeah, it was fun to revisit that a little bit, watch one in the morning while the sun's coming up. What else? Watched a lot of stand-up comedy in the, times pretty heavy, so you watching something a little bit lighter can help. I watched the new Louis C.K. special, Sincerely.
How was that?
It was great. There's no denying. I think maybe him and Dave Chappelle are the 2 greatest living stand-up comedians. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of controversy surrounding him and the special and the debate whether you should watch it or not. I thought it was worth seeing, but if someone feels like they can't support him or anything he does, I totally get it. There's no way you can really argue with someone about that.
I don't know, man. I think that if do I think that Louis C.K. is a creep? Yeah, sure. Do I think that most people that are stand-up comics are creeps? Probably.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing, man. It's like I'm not going to like reject his entire career because he's a creep, I mean, I listen to Gigi Allen records, I have a Gigi Allen. I wear Gigi Allen T-shirts and I own Gigi Allen records. So what? He's a creep. He's done some terrible things. It's like how I'm not going to be so fucking grasping at my pearls that I can't appreciate Louis C.K. And also, when does he like get forgiven for anything? It's like I don't know. It's like you can't. I would be very careful about how far deep I look into some of our favorite artists' lives, personal lives. Anyone out there who listens to...
everyone's got a skeleton or 2.
Yeah, man, fuck. The same people that are condemning Louis C.K. are probably fans. I mean, I know there's a lot of women out there that are like fans of Motley Crue, right? I know several that to this day, still now, they've seen the one of the farewell Motley Crue tours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how are you gonna like support Motley Crue, right? And then call Louis C.K. a misogynist and say that he can't perform anywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
How are you going to do that? You can't.
you know, and I think everyone has a right to make a living and do what they do. Some people think he wasn't gone long enough. Again, like, you know, I'm not going to argue. You think he's a creep, you don't want to support his work, you know, fine. But yeah, a lot of artists, musicians, writers, all like, I think the arts just attract fucked up people who do fucked up things.
I 100% agree. You know, I mean, fucking hey, man, Vince Neil, like, basic manslaughter. That dude from fucking Hanoi Rocks. You know what I mean? Razzle from Hanoi Rocks. It's like,
yeah, I read that book. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and oh yeah. Well, if you read that book, then you've seen all the other dark shit they've done to women. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to name names, but there's women out there that might even be listening to this show that will rep Motley Crue and will not support Louis C.K. And I'm just like, double standard, you know? I'm not saying you should rep him, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I just mean that you got to be consistent. And I also don't think that you should take the guy's livelihood away because he did something that you think is fucked up, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, he's definitely still like, I mean, had that never happened, that special would be on Netflix to show Mike something on TV. He's definitely affected by this. But it was funny. I laughed a lot. I'm glad I saw it. Another movie I watched that was the subject of some controversy. I'm curious if you've seen this, was Rambo, Last Blood.
I started watching it, and I just got bored, and I turned it off. I watched something else.
Well, yeah. You missed the best part.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that movie was complete nonsensical trash. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy watching it. The last 20 minutes is just bloodbath. And it's actually well made. But the movie that precedes it is just fucking nonsensical stupidity.
Is it like xenophobic at all? Like, is it like real racist or something? Or
it definitely has that element, you know, because he takes on the cartel, and they're all pretty like cartoonishly evil, one-dimensional characters. But everyone is one. I mean, I don't even know how it's a Rambo movie. Like, he's kind of, it feels like he's playing a different character, and it's just deeply silly. Everything is a plot device, or there's no real characters. You know, people appear in the movie and then for a scene, and then they're gone. And you ask them, how the fuck did that happen? It's kind of a cheap, shoddy movie too, and just a kind of character like Rambo, you expect a little bit more, and instead you get this like hour and 25-minute movie that looks kind of cheap, and you slap the Rambo name on it, like. But I mean, it was fun to watch. Just something like fun to watch with your friends and just ask, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Who cares?
I mean, I plan on revisiting it, definitely.
Yeah, it's worth it for the last 20 minutes for the final showdown. That's when it gets real Rambo-y. I reckon those movies aren't, aside from the first one, those movies aren't very good. But, you know, I grew up in the 80s, so I have a soft spot for the Rambo movies.
I like that real brutal one that came out about 10 or 15 years ago. That's like
4, yeah.
That one was sick, man. It was like, that was like an exploitation film. You know what I mean? It was like a fucking grindhouse movie almost.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I remember talking to Selden. Do you know Selden Hunt? You
a little bit. Him? I don't know him well, but I know Selden Hunt. Yeah.
Remember, he saw it before me and was like, oh, it's like watching an Italian horror film.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I was like, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, like, fucking babies on fire and people just getting their limbs getting blown off by machine guns and shit. It was fucking nuts. But, you know, it was a Rambo movie, though. You know, this one didn't feel like one at all. But,
yeah,
you know.
I don't know. I'll probably revisit it just because, like, what else do I got to do, really? You know what I mean? There's like, other...
Right.
You know, I'm working at home. I haven't left my apartment in like 3 days. So, you know, it's like I got plenty of food. You know, I got work to do. And then at night I'll read and like watch movies. So, you know. Yeah,
on the weekends I'm home. Like, I go to work, I come home. That's all I do.
Yeah.
So like I've had ample time to watch lots of stuff. And I know you've seen this one. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
I think I was like when stay at home first happened, I was like just hungry to watch new stuff, and I think that was the first one I watched, first 2020 movie. That was in theaters that all of a sudden was on demand. What did you think of that?
I liked it generally, but yeah, there was some stuff in there. I don't know if I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I think it was like an interesting take on it. There was like some like wokeness in there that I thought was like a little weird, and I don't know. It's funny that I'm like so sensitive to shit like that. It's like I don't know, man. I
feel like I am too, but then nothing in it where it took. Oh well, I didn't find any of it like pandering or out of place. That element didn't bother me at all.
I hate
some other things did.
Well, what bothered you about it?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of weird, glaring plot holes.
Yeah.
Like, how did he fake his own death? How did that was sort of glossed over. And then like an hour in, I loved the first hour. I loved it. I thought the opening scene was masterfully done. I didn't expect something that good from the guy who wrote the Saw movies, put it that way.
Right.
And I love how it slowly built the tension. You have a lot of like wide shots where seemingly nothing's happening. So you're looking real close for something. I thought it was great. I was so into it. And then right around at the hour mark, at the scene where she's, with spoilers, in the mental institution, is when the movies got absolutely silly for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
She's locked up in her cell, and he's in there with her. What was his plan? Like, stay there all night? Because he's locked in there too. And she doesn't outsmart him really so much as like use his like murder spree in the hospital to escape. Like she didn't like have a plan. That element kind of bothered me. And it just turned into an action film. Like, and all that great setup and tension was just out the window. And then there's a huge plot hole in the end where spoiler, she kills him, and the cop just lets her go.
Yeah.
After like 911 is called. Okay, so 911 is called, and the girl, like the girl who called, has left the scene. It was a strange ending. I just didn't stick the landing. Like I really enjoyed it, but like it went from like an A to like a B because of those weird inconsistencies.
Yeah, I mean, I remember thinking it was a pretty novel idea when I saw it originally, and because the original Invisible Man was kind of a piece of shit too,
God, well, you mean the one from was it the 40s that came out? 50s?
Yeah, like he was kind of a piece of shit.
It's been a long time.
And then this new guy is a piece of shit, and then but it was obviously the movie focused on it was more of his wife's story, than the story about the Invisible Man. So, yeah, I don't know. It's cool. Maybe call it something else. I don't know. Maybe have a different name for it, because I think that's the thing I react to the most with a lot of these reimaginings of classic characters, like these, more socially aware, gender sensitive, culturally sensitive reimaginings of old characters. It's like I get why people would want to be moving into this like more illuminated world, but also, okay, great, make some new stories that incorporate more illuminated characters that are more diverse and express different parts of our society. And I feel like it's exploitative in a way, because instead of developing brand new characters, they just take old characters, and then because they don't want to take a chance on a new character, and they would rather reimagine an old character in a new way, where it appeals more to this like culture of whatever. And that started with Marvel Comics like a few years ago, and I was like, man, what the fuck, man? It's like you got a different, there's like a different Thor, there's like a different Spider-Man and all this stuff, and I'm like, maybe kill Spider-Man and maybe, kill Peter Parker if you want, and then have a brand new character that is a different character, has have a different name. But no, they want to take the property that they have and scramble it up and turn it into something else.
You're talking about the actual comics, right?
The actual comic books, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, now in
them.
movies, there's this thing of, okay, well, we're going to make, the Wolfman's going to be a transgender person now, or, you know what I mean? Which is
right.
I think it's great that we can focus on the different types of people that exist in the world with us, but I just don't like when they just take an old thing and make it new. And it seems very very patronizing to me. That's the word that comes to mind. And I don't care for that.
Right. Well, for me, if it's good, it's good. I think you could have made that exact same movie, and you could have probably called it something else.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, but since it's called Invisible Man, I thought it was a cool take. I would have also maybe enjoyed a more straightforward remake, but I liked that it was we're gonna do our own thing. Obviously, there was a vision for this one. I liked it, man. It was a good movie. That could have been great.
I'm not even that big on remakes, honestly. I kind of get really suspicious whenever I see something being remade.
Me too, but again, I'm not against it. I am. If it's good, it's good, and that's always been my philosophy. But yeah, you're right. The lack of original ideas is troublesome. I think you saw this one too, The Lodge.
Oh my God, that was great. I loved it. That was amazing.
Man.
One last thing.
Great movie.
I just want to say one thing, because just so people don't think I'm a sexist, fucking racist pig out, existing in the world. I just recently read a book called The Reddening, which is written by Adam Neville, and great book. 2 strong female lead characters, and I wasn't beaten over the head with it. You know what I mean? They were complicated females that were the leads that were propelling the story forward. They weren't just butched up versions of women that are supposed to be kicking ass like men. You know what I mean? It's they developed the female characters, and they weren't just all right, we're women, but we're gonna kick ass. It's they had complex, emotional responses, and you can see it was very realistic, I thought, in some of the responses to the situations that they dealt with. It wasn't I still haven't seen the Black Christmas remake, but it was well, we're not going to take it anymore. We're these tough bitches, and we're just going to fucking fuck up guys. It's it wasn't that at all. And that's what I respond to, is that kind of foolishness, I think,
Well, you should watch Birds of Prey then. I think you're really going to like it.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
And I have nothing but respect for women, even women who kick ass. It's I've been tapped by women in jiu-jitsu. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have any. I think it's fucking awesome. I train with women. I think it's great. I just don't like being beaten over the head and manipulated, and which is what I think a lot of media does. The Twilight Zone reimagining by what's his name?
Jordan Peele. I've been told by everyone that that's awful.
It's fucking abysmal, man. And I like him better as a funny man. I wish he'd stay out of horror, honestly.
I quite liked the Get Out. I didn't care for Us.
I like Get Out. I thought Get Out was awesome, actually.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
That was his only good fucking movie, though, in my opinion, as a horror maker.
I thought Us was really, really bad. Maybe not really, but I thought it was a bit messy and muddled, and not really sure what it wanted to say. I didn't like that one. It had some great moments though, and again, built up to something that just didn't work for me.
the other thing I don't like, the one thing I took exception to and Get Out was how he wrote the character of that the younger guy, the white guy that was like part of the family, the kind of unhinged wild card dude.
Yeah.
He was talking, and why did he have to put this in there? That the guy was like talking about training jiu-jitsu, and I was just like, motherfucker, like first of all, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is not even like a white guy thing. It's like it started in Brazil, okay? And
right.
if you go to a fucking jiu-jitsu academy, you get every type of person you could fucking imagine in a school. Like you go to train jiu-jitsu, it's like black people, white people, like Latinos, men, women, all types of people, man. And it's like to paint this guy as like a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I think was fucking stupid in my opinion. I mean, one of our favorite guys, you know, Eugene Robinson, big black dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fucking brown
Great.
belt.
I love that guy.
Brown belt, jiu-jitsu brown belt, you know? And it's like,
yeah, he put me in a headlock once and I thought my head was going to just completely rip off.
You know, and like in my experiences in training, you know, there's like I said, it's never been just like this white thing or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I oftentimes find myself to be like in the minority of people culturally. Not like I really give a fuck about that. I just, you know, I just think that I get it, you know, white people, cool, you know, you guys. But I also take exception when it gets really specific about certain stuff. And I just think that, like, just like everyone thinks MMA is like a white guy thing. It's not, you know?
Right. Side note, I sat next to that actor who played that guy at a bar once, and I thought he was a homeless guy. Very fucking weird vibe to him.
Yeah.
But The Lodge, it kind of came and went. I think it came out in February.
Yeah.
I know it played like the festival circuit the year before. That's sort of how I heard about it. But this is such an underappreciated film, man. Like it's got such a very cold European feel to it. I don't know if you saw the directing duo's previous film, Good Night, Mommy.
Yeah, I saw that.
But it had a
very similar vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And even in content, you know, like you're not really sure what's happening until the very end. You're not sure who's you can trust, there's an unreliable narrator situation. Like it's a very similar movie, but this one, man, is just beautifully executed. It looks great. It's a slow burn to an ending that really got under my skin.
Yeah, the ending was very unsettling. Definitely. I think I might buy this one, actually.
Yeah, the whole thing was unsettling. You're not sure where your allegiances lie throughout the whole movie, and until almost the very end. Out of everything I watched under quarantine, that was by far my favorite.
Yeah, and Riley Keough is a great actress too. I like her in this movie.
She is too, and like her sort of like you don't know if she's unraveling or not for a while. It really good performance by everyone too. The kid actors, is, 9 out of 10 times they're awful, and these two kids were fantastic.
Wasn't the boy in? Wasn't he one of the young kids in It or something like that? Let's say the actor.
That's where I recognize. Yeah, where I recognize him from. I didn't like those movies. I thought It Chapter 2 was one of the worst movies of last year.
I liked the first one. I didn't like the second one.
I thought the first one was mediocre. I was very disappointed with it. Another surprise I had written down. This is by no means a great movie, but for a PG-13 horror movie released in January that was shot 2 years prior, it was way better than it had any business being, and that was Underwater.
Oh, dude, I fucking hated that movie, man. Oh, my God. I was so disappointed in that movie, dude. Yeah, I was really looking forward to it, man. I was, like, really looking forward to that movie. And because it sounded cool. Like, it was, like, under these creatures underwater. It's, like, this claustrophobic sort of vibe. The trailer looked good. I think Kristen Stewart's a really, really good actress. I enjoy, seeing her act in films. you know, and
Did you ever see
like,
Personal Shopper?
yeah, she was great in that. Yeah.
No, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Sorry,
She's
go
in
ahead.
her underwear a lot in this movie too, which is kind of cool.
I noticed that. Yeah.
It's like, I always thought I think that's kind of funny where it's like, would she really be that scantily clad in a scenario like that?
Yeah.
I don't think so, man. I think she'd be wearing like some sort of utilitarian, like overalls or something, you know?
Seemed like a choice for sure.
It's like, we're just going to have shots of her ass and like her, you know, like her bare like midsection and everything. And I'm just like, fuck, man. I mean, I'm not complaining, but
yeah,
it was definitely a little bit on the nose, you know?
Yeah. I thought the opening scene it looked kind of like frantic, and I was like, oh man, this is kind of silly. It's not a great movie, but I liked the monster effect. I like that. It was kind of a twist. Spoiler alert! Like it's basically Cthulhu, right?
Well, that's yeah. I mean, it's a Lovecraftian underwater sort of thing that you could say is Cthulhu, you know, and yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, I didn't realize that the movie was shot so long ago because I was like, why is T.J. Miller in this? He's kind of been canceled. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of tanked his career a few years back.
Oh, what happened? Which guy was that? Who was he?
T.J. Miller. He's a comedian. He was like,
well, he raped somebody. Everyone happened.
No, well, he was accused of something in college, and then he called in like some sort of like fake bomb. Like he was on the train with some woman, and he called 911 saying she had a bomb, and he ended up getting arrested for doing that. A lot of like sketchy behavior. You've seen him. He was in Cloverfield.
But which guy was he though? He was the sort of comedy like relief guy. The comic relief.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I didn't know his
name. Yeah, that
guy.
I
didn't know what his name was, but I have seen him before though. Yes.
He's actually a really funny stand-up, but he seems like a kind of a fucked up dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, that's strange that he's in this. And I read like, oh wow, this was shot years ago and put on the shelf. So again, you're just kind of expecting something really awful, and this wasn't awful. I'd say it was like a solid C.
I think that I built it up so much in my mind that it was going to be good, and I was just completely disappointed. I ended up like looking at my phone like about halfway through the movie, and
yeah.
But one of my biggest criticisms is there was no setting. You know, it just boom starts, and like. What are they doing down there? Like what's you know what I mean? Like what is the point of any of the situation that they'd set up? You know, I don't know. It's
I couldn't tell you anything. It was completely forgettable. And so you think Kristen Stewart and what's that French actor's name?
Oh, yeah, that guy. He was in Eastern Promises and
he's like the French,
Irreversible. It'll come to
he's like the French Vincent Gallo.
The French Vincent Gallo, yeah. I like that guy though. He's a good actor.
Yeah, they, you're like, oh man, it's
Vincent
like
Cassel.
Like,
Vincent Cassel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this script attracted a pretty good cast.
Let me ask you a question about Vincent Cassel real quick. Do you think I look like him at all?
No.
Someone told me that I look like Vincent Cassel, and I never thought I did. But like you never really know what you look like, you know?
Right. People tell me that all the time. Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, I look just like those guys. But yeah, like it had like legit actors in it, but it makes you wonder, like, what did they see in this? Like, was the director's pitch like that good?
I mean,
I don't know.
The fucking story could have been great, really. I mean, I think it had so much potential to be a cool story, like kind of like Alien or something like that.
Alien underwater.
But underwater with like tied into like the Cthulhu mythos, with like some occult sort of Lovecraftian shit going on, and
right.
But it just didn't fucking deliver, man. Like they didn't build any of that up. It was just basically an adventure movie like underwater with like some weird creatures, and I mean, there was definitely some good points, you know, like when the guy blew up, like when he is depressurized, you know, and they like, walk through his like exploded body parts. Like that was kind of cool, you know, but
right. It didn't feel PG-13 either.
It was a hard PG-13, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. Like I felt like I was watching an R-rated movie at certain points for sure. But yeah, like again, not a total waste of time like I was expecting. Like it was one of those things where I was like, I really just want to watch something I haven't seen before. So sure, I'll give this a shot, and was a little surprised that I didn't completely hate it, and it had a cool monster, and the creature effects didn't look cheap to me. Like it obviously clearly CGI, but didn't look bad to me. That was a cool looking creature.
I think that a movie like that, because there was so much shadow and stuff, and I know it's a lot cheaper to do CGI these days, really would have benefited from practical effects in some of the spots rather, you know, like if they should have built some creature suits or something, you know.
Yeah, I always prefer practical. It depends. If it's done well, then I don't care. Like I'm sure you've seen Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Great movie. All the stunts and stuff and the driving, that's all real. But all the backgrounds are completely CGI enhanced, but you don't notice it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sicario is another movie with lots of CGI that you just don't even realize you're looking at something that isn't real, you know? So if it's done well, I don't care. But yeah, practical is always more fun. You know, we grew up in that era. And the last movie I have on the list is filled with practical effects, and it's a rewatch. I saw this in the theater at Beyond Fest, and it's VFW by Joe Begos.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep, that was a good one. I saw that a while ago.
Yeah, it was fun to see in a packed theater at a festival. People are drinking, and it was a really, really good time. People like laughing and cheering, and that was such a great experience. I was like, and it's been a while since I've seen it. And I was like, I wonder how this plays on the small screen, just two people watching it, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for anything Joe does. I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. I think I bought that on. I do. I actually own a digital copy of it. It's really cool.
Nice. Yeah, the acting's really great. The effects are great. It's a fun movie. You know, you feel like you're watching something that came out in 1985. It has that look and feel to it, and the actors are all believable in their roles. So there's really nothing negative I can say about that movie. I liked it a lot.
I got to put you on hold for a second. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Sorry about that. I just had to.
No worries.
Yeah, to take a piss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's all. Anything you wanted to mention? Anything you?
Yeah, I watched.
About?
I watched The Wretched. By that was like one of your.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, one of your recommendations, and.
Did I recommend it? Like
you did.
You should watch this. This is good.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it was all right. It was.
That's what I thought about it though. It was all right.
Yeah. There were things about it I thought were really cool. They didn't go far enough with some of the story, lines. I think, like the actual creature, and I don't know. It could have had more of like this kind of like pagan, like occult like vibe to it. It really like lent itself to that, and I think that they should have developed more of the lore behind the creature, and like what it actually is. And that's just a personal thing. And
well, yeah.
Yeah, and but in general, I thought it was pretty cool. There's a lot of good moments in there where I was like, it was like very, very creepy.
Sure. Yeah, I felt like it was like I was watching a coming of age movie with like horror overtones.
Yeah.
At some point during the movie, I kind of forgot I was watching a supernatural movie, like, the scene at the party. So it felt like a mismatch of ideas, and having an indie rock song play over the opening credits kind of gave it a lighter tone than like that of a horror movie. Its identity was mixed up. Like, it didn't really know what it wanted to lean on the horror more or lean on like, this kid's summer at an important age. But yeah, like overall, pretty good. I don't think I'd ever watch it again, or like it's not destined to be a classic or anything.
Definitely not going to watch it again.
Yeah.
There was a documentary on Prime called Boiled Angel. It's about Mike Diana, the comic artist. That's are you familiar with that?
Oh, okay. A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, in the early '90s, I think it was early '90s. It was he was like convicted of like obscenity charges for this comic book he was doing called Boiled Angel, and I mean, I can appreciate his art, but it's not something I'm not that into that super like, misanthropic, like, brutal stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, like I said, I appreciate it, but it's not something that would be a steady diet of my comic reading. It's something that he was doing.
Sure.
But he was in Florida, and he was involved in this very it was a big deal about his case with obscenity, and
right.
It was a really well done documentary. Jello Biafra was like the narrator, and there's Neil Gaiman's in it as they interview him about the case and everything. It was pretty cool. It was a good documentary for sure.
Oh, I'll have to check that out for sure. A lot of documentaries popping up.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been a fan of docs. So. Yeah,
it's interesting that you'd have Jello Biafra narrate anything, because the guy's the most annoying voice on the planet.
I agree, man. I'm not a fan of his at all, really. I mean, I like Dead Kennedys, but
sure.
I don't know. He's just not like. It's funny, like Ian MacKaye and Jello Biafra are two people that everyone has been infatuated with for all these years growing up. If you're into punk rock music or whatever, I just never really cared about either one of those guys, to be honest.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Fugazi fan.
Me neither.
I like them, but like I never went crazy about them. I saw them once and was just thoroughly annoyed the entire time. I just felt like they were constantly stopping their set to yell at someone in a crowd of like fucking thousands of people. I just found that really obnoxious. And I understand people like act like idiots at shows, and sometimes they need to get called out. But this was just obnoxious.
Yeah, I just never was into the togetherness of the DC like vibe, the Discord thing. It was never something that I identified with, really.
Some of it I liked a lot, and some of it, it just kind of didn't connect with me. Like, I loved Shudder to Think when they were on Discord, Jawbox, Hoover, Cry and Hate Ruin. Those are all like really, really good bands. But yeah, the vast majority of it just had a vibe that I just didn't connect with. Fugazi got to be this huge band. When you get that big, it's harder and harder to control certain aspects of it. And you only charge $5 to get in, so fucking anyone can come see you, You're going to get some riffraff.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of, agree with that. Dead Kennedys were cool. Not a huge fan. They're not like as iconic to me as something like the Misfits. Yeah. But definitely liked them when I was a kid. I really loved Lard too. That project he did with Ministry.
Yeah, I'm not even into that really, to be honest. And I like Al Jorgensen, but that's not even something I was that into really.
Well, Ian MacKaye also did a project with Ministry. Palehead.
Yeah, I'm not into that really.
I liked that one quite a bit. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't like Ian MacKaye's voice.
Really?
No,
yeah. Okay. I can see that.
I liked him in Minor Threat.
Yeah.
I like Rites of Spring. I thought they were great, and that's kind of like, Beefeater. I thought was cool. I don't know. Not my thing really. Yeah. Hoover was a good band, though.
Hoover was great. I kind of fell off. I don't know much about Fugazi past. Repeater is the one I was the most familiar with.
That's a good record. Repeater is a solid record, just in general. Like
that's a classic.
A great record, but I just don't like the vibe. I don't like, this is if you're, you have to be this thing or that thing or whatever, and like it's too preachy. It's like what if my life isn't like that? What if I have to like sell T-shirts to be able to fucking pay my rent at the end of the month? You know what I mean? It's
totally agree with you. Totally.
Like, fuck that. Like that guy happened to be in the right place, the right time, with the right people around him, in a scene that was fucking supporting what he was doing, and he was able to make a career out of it. So he can charge $5 at a show, and he can not sell T-shirts and all this stuff. And it's like that idealization that it's just not part of any reality that I've ever been part of.
I agree. The scene coming up in Connecticut at the time, it was very self-righteous. Punk rock in general was, the anti-major label. When bands signed to a major, you're like a pariah. You're done. Get out of here. I don't know if you were a huge Jawbreaker fan, but when they signed to a major, that might have been the biggest backlash I've ever seen.
I fuck with Jawbreaker a little bit. They had some good songs. I wouldn't say that I'm
one of my
fan.
favorite bands. Love them.
Yeah, I know. I know you're a big fan of theirs. I definitely like select records by them. And but the thing is, at the end of the day, a band like Jawbreaker, it's like, where do you go with that music though? It's like it's so catchy, and like a lot of people, they're basically writing pop songs, and it's like, so why not allow them to get in front of like a real audience, like a big audience, like a lot of people would enjoy that,
Yeah, I think people just feel ownership over those bands. Like when Green Day got signed, there was a huge backlash, and I think everyone knows, like, oh, this is the end. Like, this is going to be huge, and it was. And all of a sudden, your culture is in the mall, and kids who used to beat you up are now fucking like dyeing their hair blue and shit.
Well, I mean, that's the other side of things too, for sure. But I don't know. I saw Green Day and Shelter play a long time ago, and I thought they were pretty cool. I never really owned any of their records like that. The Lookout Records thing wasn't really wasn't really into a lot of that stuff. And pop punk wasn't really my thing.
Yeah, Lookout Records was a huge deal to me when I was a kid. Yeah. My first band played with Green Day at a VFW hall.
Oh yeah,
and they were like rock stars before they were rock stars. You know what I mean? Even in like the punk scene, they were like, they were huge.
Yeah.
And no surprise they were a huge success.
But, I mean, the same thing with Nirvana too. It was destined for that band to become like a major band, in my opinion. Nirvana. Yeah,
I honestly didn't know much about them before Nevermind came out. I wasn't really into the Seattle grunge scene at all. Didn't really cross paths with what I was into at the time. I mean, some of the bands like Soundgarden, obviously they were huge before that. But I didn't know too much about that world.
No, I liked Nirvana prior to their explosion, but I wasn't what you would call a huge fan. Like I was way more into like Soundgarden and Green River, Skin Yard, those bands like that. I'm not even really that big into like the Melvins, honestly. I thought Tad was really cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
Love the Melvins.
I know. Everyone loves the Melvins. I know. I understand. Yes.
Yeah.
I only like up to Houdini, and I can't fuck with anything after that because I feel like it became like a joke band or something. You know what I mean? Especially when they had the two guys from Big Business. Yeah, I hate.
I like those records.
Nah, that's not
interesting.
For me. It's not for me.
Our last tours with that lineup of the Melvins.
Yeah.
Last ISIS tour.
Yep.
I really enjoyed it live. Yeah. Wait, did you guys play any shows on those?
Not on those.
On the East Coast?
No, we played the
You
West
were on the
Coast
West Coast
dates.
with us and Jacob.
Yeah. Yep.
From New Zealand. Great band.
We also played in Texas too, so I don't know if it was 100% West Coast, or was that a different tour that I was thinking about? Because we toured together a couple times.
Right. No, we didn't do. We did the East Coast with the Melvins and the West Coast. We didn't do anything in between, which unfortunate. It would have been nice to do one last Chicago show, but
What I was thinking about actually, now it's coming back to me. There was it was with Pelican. It was ISIS, Pelican.
Oh, right.
And Tomb. So we played at the old Emos, and that tour. Actually, and I'm not gonna. This might sound like whatever, but it's like that. That was actually one of the high points of just my life. Really, I had a great time on that tour. I thought it was cool. The vibe on that tour was really good. All three bands were really good friends, I felt like. And that particular show, I remember because it's outside, and that was like one of my favorite sets I think I've ever seen you guys play. And I know that the Wavering Radiant record, you guys played a lot of material from that. Some of that shit was like,
right.
It hit really hard, on that particular night, I thought.
Oh, thanks. We always have great shows in Austin. I've never had a bad show. I turned 30 at Emos.
Nice.
In 2006. Yeah, it was one of my favorite memories from being in the band.
Yeah.
When we came out to do an encore, our tour manager came out with a birthday cake.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And and Aaron got the crowd to sing "Happy Birthday," and people were giving me drinks after the set. And this is when we were on tour with Tool. That was like a one-off show for us. So we were on the bus, and it was a great moment. I was like, "Fuck, I just turned 30 on tour with Tool, playing stadiums and shit. This is surreal."
Yeah, that must have been awesome.
Yeah, good times. Always loved going to Austin. We played there with Palms, 2014 or something like that. Mohawks, which is not Mohawks is set up like the old Emos, but it's nicer.
Yeah,
it's much nicer. Yeah, miss that place.
Yeah, Austin's
Dallas
cool.
was a good show too on that tour. Remember that it was like some kind of theater, was it? I can't remember, but we had a really good show in Dallas on that tour. Remember that?
One of the sickest shows I think we've ever played together, it might have been on that tour, was in Toronto. There was this fucking awesome venue, this great theater in Toronto that we played together, and that was really cool time, I thought. Yeah,
Toronto is always fucking great shows. Montreal, always great. Remember Vancouver? I remember playing Vancouver with you guys on the last tour. That fucking we were in Junkie Town.
Oh man, yeah, we played at the Rickshaw. I played that place. Oh. As you can imagine, that's fucking. I've been there, I don't know, 20 times in my lifetime, in that fucking shithole part of town, man. It's funny. Yeah, it's
my
really
God, it's the only
great.
time I've been there.
You guys, you guys operated on a little different level than we did. So we do. So it's you guys have a little different thing going on as far as quality of fucking places and everything. But
yeah, but everyone plays there though, right?
I don't know, man. I know we've played there a bunch of time on a lot of kind of these tours, these package tours and stuff. And the another great show was the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco.
Yeah, love that place.
That was really cool. That was I felt I was in Led Zeppelin or something like that night. It was great.
Yeah, I had a great time. That's another place I always have great shows. It's such a great venue, and the people who own that own Slim's, which I'm sure you played before.
Oh yeah, yep. Slim's is awesome. Yep. definitely.
Slim's I might like Slim's better. But those are two of my favorite venues to play. I love playing shows there. Well,
Yeah.
same with we only got to play there once. Well, the Doug Fur, like our last show in Portland.
Yeah.
I love that place. I was like, why haven't you been playing here every time instead of that fucking dump, the Hawthorne Theater? I hate that place.
Yeah, the Hawthorne Theater kind of sucks. I don't really like that place either.
Yeah.
I don't like Portland.
Portland's
honestly.
I was just gonna say, man, Portland has such a fucking weird vibe, man. Like.
Yeah.
I feel like people are still in danger of being beat up by like white supremacists there. You know what I mean? Like it's got that Peckerwood vibe to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But mixed with like ultra progressives, and it's a weird fucking place, man.
Yeah, I don't like Portland at all. Honestly, I don't think if we never went there again, I'd be like pretty happy about that. Skipping Portland and. Not just going right. I mean, even Seattle, like I'm not a big fan of Seattle either, to be honest.
Oh man, I love it. I love that place we played with you guys too. It's funny how quickly I forget all this shit.
Numos?
Numos. Yeah. Love that place.
I feel like people don't like us in the Northwest, honestly. I feel like we don't really have a big fan base in Oregon or Washington State, and that our fan base picks up more in like California.
Yeah, I remember watching you guys in Seattle. You guys were before us, and like
obviously,
I remember feeling, you guys. No, with Jacob, and then you, and then us. Yeah, right. Like I thought it kind of almost felt like more people were watching Jacob. I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. But so I agree with what you're saying. Like, I remember thinking too. I was like, this is kind of a dull crowd. This sucks.
Yeah. There are some smaller towns, though, that we've played in Washington State and Oregon that are actually a lot cooler than those places. And for us, I mean, I don't know, like whatever. What the fuck do I know about anything? But like
Eugene?
No, I don't know.
You guys
man.
played there with us too. The Wow Hall.
Oh yeah. We did. And we played in Eugene with Crowbar too one time. And it was funny. We played in this like pretty cool spot actually, and during our set, it was the same day that Charles Manson died. Okay, so like, we finished playing, and some weird guy like rolls up to me. He's like, "Hey man, it's like you're always writing about like Charles Manson and shit. And it's like Charlie died during your set, man." And I'm like, "No, he didn't. He died like at like 2:00 in the morning or something like that, man." I'm like. Yeah. Was
that weird guy Steve who came up to you, Steve Austin?
No, I use the same voice though for a lot of,
for weird, creepy Charles Manson fans.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. Sometimes you play those small, like outside on the outskirts, or away from the big city, and get some strange people coming.
Yeah. Things don't really pick up for us till we hit California, like San Francisco's cool, like LA, San Diego. It's like I feel like that's like when people I feel like more people like us in California than they do in the Northwest. And that might be partially my fault too. I don't know. Because I like talk shit about the Northwest a lot,
Oh, well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, San Diego wasn't good for us until like kind of like in 2005. We started finally having like good shows. We always play that real small place. God, see, I can't remember any of these places. We played there with you guys a couple times.
Not the Che Cafe.
The Casbah.
Casbah, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I love that place. You're always like, how do we fit on the stage?
Yeah.
How do we do it? Small. And then like when you play, and the crowd is like right there. I loved playing there. Great venue.
We've been playing at this place called Brick by Brick in San Diego. It's pretty cool. It's like
I've heard of that place.
It's like it's a different. It's more of like a metal like. There's certain venues that seem to get the same types of tours, and that for example, like 1349 went through there, Crowbar, those types of tours, and like It's a nice venue, man. It's like they got great sound system. The sound guy, one of the sound guys, Otto, is he's a good friend of ours. He's like mixed us on. He did sound for us on a tour, and he did sound for us and Fit for an Autopsy on the tour we did a few years ago together. And it was just like a good, pretty cool spot. Like there's like a nice restaurant across the street. San Diego's pretty cool. I like San Diego.
Yeah,
it's a little right
wing. I always had like.
It's a little too right wing for me, but it's pretty cool city though.
It's kind of got that like bro-y vibe where like people with like sleeve tattoos wear shorts and straight brimmed hats and wear like Lagwagon t-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
They're really into the band Pennywise.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, that's the stronghold of that shit, man. Like even like LA, like Southern California, that's like that type of. That's like the equivalent of like those Boston dudes, except they're on the West Coast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Neck tattoos and like, fucking fitted hats and shit like that,
Yeah. Like, I went down there a couple years ago and like, yeah, like real like tough guy shit. They listen to like pop punk.
Yeah. I always found that weird.
Yeah, it's like that weird kind of like that dude who plays drums for Blink-182. I was all like hard and shit, But like
I know
Blink-182
that guy.
Like the softest
it's like
band.
you're in the biggest sissy fucking band ever, and you're trying to come off like you're some tough guy. I mean, I'm sure he's a fucking beautiful person, but like, I just found that odd. It's like. I don't know, dude. It's like maybe he is a tough guy. What do I know?
I just saw a documentary about like LA tattoo artist Mr. Cartoon. Like it's pretty. Like he tattooed like all like the hip hop guys and him. Like
oh yeah.
Like it's just so weird. He's around guys like Exhibit, Dr. Dre, Eminem, and then you got the drummer for a pop punk band. It's really weird how those things kind of. Collided.
Didn't that guy like almost die in a plane crash?
Yeah, him and that famous DJ AM were the only survivors.
Oh wow, man, that's fucking intense, man.
Yeah. A lot of respect for Pat. I mean, he had burns on like 80% of his body. The guy one of the other guys, the DJ AM, later, I think he died like a year later of a drug overdose.
Oh, damn.
I think they found an oxy. I shouldn't say this. I don't know if it's true, but I thought I had heard he died, but like they found a pill in his mouth.
Horrible.
Yeah. Can you imagine you survive that? And then, I can't even imagine. Like, I know like when Blink-182 tours overseas, he takes a boat. Like he'll leave like a week before the band.
Oh, wow. Hey man, I could see having some sort of PTSD as a result of surviving a plane crash.
Yeah. Dude, I get that shit on a turbulent flight. This guy survived a fucking plane crash.
Dude.
Yeah, that's insane. Okay, no, I take every negative thing I said about him back.
No, man, well, the band is terrible. That band is like
I hate that band.
Awful, and I just or maybe it's just me. I just can't relate to that kind of shit, really.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah,
not at all. So. Anything else you want to talk about?
That's it, man. I got to finish. Right. I'm almost done with writing this. It's like right now it's I think 14 pages long. This piece about integrity, and
oh wow,
yeah, it's going to be published in this magazine that Holy Mountain's putting out, and
right, yeah, you've been working on this a while.
I've been chipping away at it for quite a while. It's got like a lot of interview stuff in it. I had 50 pages. All together, and I edited it down to about it's like between 14 and 10 or 14 and 20 right now. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I still got a lot of everything's edited right now, and I have to kind of rearrange like the narrative so it reads like an actual article.
Right.
So that's what I've been working on it on and off for like a few months now, but I'm
cool.
I'm going to finish it today and send it out. So.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Well, it's great talking to you, and we'll hang in there. And I think that the next couple weeks are going to be very a lot of things are going to be different, I think, in the next couple weeks.
I am very curious what the world's going to be like next time we talk, for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like for the last like month, it's like I was like in the mindset of like it's just this is how it's going to be for like a couple of months, and then now I feel like we're at this like turning point where things are actually going to change. So
yeah,
for better or for worse, we'll see what happens. I guess
we'll see.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Hang in there.
You too.